everyone, I'm Rubina.
And I'm Layla.
Welcome back to our channel, Nutrition Unpacked,
where we try diets so you don't have to.
Next up, we're taking on the vegan diet.
Oh gosh.
I know. I know. 2 weeks without eggs. Genuinely, I don't mean to be dramatic. 2 weeks of no eggs. No avocado egg toast. I'm seriously contemplating just having eggs for every single meal this weekend. I'm not even trying to be extra. My heart aches.
Honestly, 2 weeks without dairy.
It's snack time for me at work. I have realized that I am a little bit worried about the vegan week because I think all my snacks at work are dairy based. So I'm having a little yogurt today. But I'm worried for when we go vegan in 2 weeks.
And I know, like, during our dairy-free video, I'm like, I barely ever eat dairy, but when we've been doing the vegetarian, I've been eating quite a bit of dairy.
I feel like dairy substitutes are actually, like, easier, like, for me. And I know there are egg substitutes.
Like just egg.
I'm looking for a soft poached egg. Literally never gets old. There's no imitation for that.
No.
I mentioned this with the paleo diet of like not going 2 weeks without avocado egg toast. I kind of got over it when I realized I could still have the eggs, but now I could have the avocado toast without the eggs. So I guess I'll find out, is it the eggs that's more important to me, or is it the avocado toast that's more important to me? I guess I'll finally get the answer to that question that I never asked. Such a beautiful marriage when they come together.
Yeah. The millennial has been, like, married to avocado toast because it's all like,
this is why you can't afford a house. This is why you will never get a job. This is why the millennials are ruining the economy. It's because of their darn avocado toast.
That was, like, the narrative for a while.
Yeah.
So
if it was true that I could just not have avocados on my grocery list and I could buy a full house,
would you be able to do it?
if that was the reality, that would be amazing.
Yes, that would be amazing.
I mean, I'm a pretty, like, frugal, like, cheap person. Like, you think that that's what's happening here?
Tell that to, like, Forbes or, like, Business Insider or whoever's publishing these articles.
Anyway, I don't know how we ended up here.
Yes, but anyway, veganism.
How do we define veganism? In this context, we're kind of focusing on the dietary side of things, but it actually goes way beyond that, and it's actually a whole lifestyle philosophy. Do you want to read the entire thing?
From the Vegan Society, veganism is a philosophy and a way of living which seeks to exclude as far as is possible and practicable?
I didn't know that was a word.
I didn't know that was a word either.
Okay.
Practicable. All forms of exploitation of and cruelty to animals for food, clothing, or any other purpose, and by extension, promotes the development and use of animal-free alternatives for the benefit of animals, humans, and the environment. In dietary terms, it denotes the practice of dispensing with all products derived wholly or partly from animals.
Within the dietary context, I think sometimes, like, veganism is thought of as a subset of vegetarianism. Vegetarianism, of course, we're excluding all animal flesh, meat, fish, poultry. Veganism does go well beyond that, so it's not just meat, but it's also anything that comes from animals at all. So eggs, dairy, honey, and even I think when we're talking about veganism as a lifestyle, it's also anything that comes from animals. So even like leather products, fur products, whether it's, clothing, decor.
From this definition, veganism is very much more a lifestyle. So even though you have vegetarians who might be doing it for ethical purposes, veganism, you can see here there's kind of a form of activism in there, having people promote the development and use of animal-free alternatives. So it's like, it's not just what you do, is also promoting this as like a whole to other people. So that makes sense, I think, when you think of like the vegan stereotype where
they're all crazy and telling you about their veganism.
And I'm not saying that vegans are crazy and always telling you about their veganism, but it makes sense that it is part of who they are and their lifestyle.
When it comes from an ethical standpoint, I think it makes more sense to me that there's maybe more passion, and it's not just oh, you do what you want to do, I want to do what I want to do. Where I think maybe that lens might be appropriate in a health context, but when we're talking about ethics and cruelty to other living things, I think wanting other people to be on board, it makes sense.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like even when people abuse their dogs or abuse their children, we have laws against that stuff, and we all want to be on the same page for them, and most of us are.
I think it's a good kind of analogy to it where, morally, I think that abuse of animals, like pets and children is wrong, and my actions hopefully support that. And so I think that's kind of the framework with vegans. And again, they also think that the abuse of animals is wrong, and so therefore they don't support animal agriculture.
The way that the vegan society has defined veganism, we're seeing that it is coming at it more from an ethical lens, where we're looking at it from a perspective of the environment, animal cruelty. It is thought that if you're pursuing veganism more from a health standpoint, that perhaps vegetarian might be a more appropriate term.
Last time we talked about vegetarianism, terms like lacto-ovo-vegetarianism, which means that you eat eggs and dairy. So strictly speaking, if we're going to be super nitty-gritty with it, vegetarian can also refer to someone who completely omits any animal products. There's been some research into comparing if someone is vegan for an ethical reason versus vegan for a health reason. We do tend to see that people who are vegan for ethical reasons are vegan for longer. They're able to sustain the diet longer, whereas people who do it for health reasons tend to follow the diet for a shorter period of time. Additionally, when we talk about health-based vegans, they tend to actually have a more healthful diet, which I guess if their value system is, hey, being healthy is important to me, they really do walk the walk with that. They tend to eat fewer sweets and have more fruits in their diet than the ethical vegan.
Before all of this, I had kind of vegetarians and vegans were kind of in the same camp in a sense compared to omnivores and carnivores. But turns out that there might be a little rift between those two parties, at least according to a 2001 survey of 111 people. While both vegetarians and vegans do think of kind of eating animals and eating meat as barbaric and cruel and maybe even unhealthy, the vegans, the barbaric and cruelty aspects, they feel that even more strongly than vegetarians. And vegans also sometimes look at vegetarians as maybe being hypocritical in the fact that they do still eat dairy and egg products.
I've heard this before as well from someone who was vegan, where it's basically like, you are vegetarians, you obviously see something wrong with the way that we treat animals, but you're not going so far as to completely cut it out. But then I also do have other vegan friends who are like, you know what, you are doing something which is helping animals, so that's better than nothing. So I think, not all vegans think the exact same way.
In this survey, both vegetarians and omnivores or meat eaters viewed vegans as being restrictive, but vegetarians did feel like vegans were being humane and ethical, even healthy, whereas meat eaters did kind of view vegans especially as being not only restrictive, but kind of unhealthy, extreme, and even unnatural. And meat eaters also viewed vegetarians as possibly having a bland or boring diet.
But what's interesting is that the way that the meat eaters saw the vegetarian diet was a lot more positive than the way that they saw the vegan diet. And I think that might have to do with some of the narratives that are out there. Like, there is kind of that narrative of like the crazy vegans, like the PETA level vegans. And I think that veganism has been shown through a very negative light in the way we talk about it in media.
I wonder if it's the same as, like, in some circles, I think the idea of feminism, it's like
raging women that don't shave their armpits and are like waving around like
the raws or whatever.
Yeah.
I think any kind of movement towards change is going to get some kind of pushback, and then that's going to be represented in media. And as an omnivore, what is your thoughts of people who are vegan?
I find it honestly impressive. I don't know if I am personally friends with anyone who's a vegan. I know people that are, I have acquaintances that are vegan, and I do think it's, I guess from the outside it feels like it takes quite a bit of sacrifice to be able to stick with it for a long term. So I find it impressive.
I think it's very admirable, that you can stick with something for so long, and also just seeing people who are very strong in their convictions and able to practice alongside those convictions, I think is very admirable to me.
Especially because intellectually, I think I agree. From the ethical standpoint, I completely agree.
Yeah.
I completely agree.
I completely agree, especially with the state of animal agriculture in the West. It's like, I completely agree.
It's definitely cognitive dissonance.
100%. 100%.
I do feel like I'm doing something wrong by not
being
vegan.
Yeah.
Ultimately, we are a nutrition channel and we are dietitians, so let's talk about the health impacts of veganism. Unfortunately, the research literature is kind of sparse when it comes to this. There isn't a lot of research on specifically veganism. There were a couple of systematic reviews, one from 2017 and one from 2020, that did compare those that follow an omnivore diet to those that follow a vegan diet. And those that do a vegan diet seem to have improved blood lipid markers, blood glucose, BMI, reduced blood pressure, and reduced risk for cancer and inflammation as well.
That's pretty similar to what we saw with the vegetarian diet. One of the reasons that we think that we could see benefits for things like inflammation, blood lipids, we have with diet changes in the gut microbiome and diets that promote more plant-based foods typically lead to better gut health. There has been one study that's really looked at this question, an RCT, where they took healthy people who were omnivores and either put them on a meat-heavy diet or on a vegan diet for 4 weeks. And what they were expecting to see were some really big changes in gut microbiome over the 4-week period. They were a little bit disappointed to see that really 4 weeks doesn't have a huge impact on the gut microbiome. They did see some changes in some of the bacteria that are health promoting with the vegan diet, but it really wasn't an effect that they were expecting to see, or one that would really probably have a tangible impact on health. This goes to show that when we're looking at these, observational studies, these are things that are going on for a very, very long period of time. So it's not something you can pick up for a month and be like,
yeah, I was vegan and now I'm in the clear. Decreased risk of all these different things, decreased risk of cancer, decreased inflammation.
This is something that you kind of really stick to if you are looking to go to a plant-based, vegan, or vegetarian diet to improve your health.
I think what would be really interesting to know is whether being ovo-lacto-vegetarian is actually, from a health perspective, superior to being a vegan. But unfortunately, the research in that area is quite lacking. Those that are vegans might have lower BMIs than those that are vegetarian, but when it comes to other disease states, we don't necessarily see a clear benefit with one way or the other.
There is some research in Seventh-day Adventists, which is a very specific population, and they're all following the Seventh-day Adventist religion, that may show some improvements for potentially diabetes and certain cancers, but honestly, there's just not enough evidence, and also that is such a specific population that lives a very specific lifestyle where they don't drink, and all kinds of different other things, where it's hard to really be able to generalize that to the full public. So as far as we know right now, there doesn't seem to be any evidence that suggests that vegetarian diets are better than vegan diets, or vegan diets are better than vegetarian diets. Absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. So maybe in the future, once we get some more research in the area, we might see some differences between the diets.
So we're gonna vlog our way through the next couple of weeks. It's gonna be much more challenging than the vegetarian diet.
I know, I'm not looking forward to it, because also dairy was so easy to turn to when it was oh, I'm hungry, let me get a yogurt, or oh, let's have a slice of cheese. Yeah. This is I feel like everything vegan is going to be more involved.
Especially if we want to try to still have pursue the diet in a healthful, kind of whole food kind of way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I'm sure I'll end up picking up some sort of prepared vegan burgers. I don't know. I think I probably will end up turning to something at some point.
I think I will as well, honestly.
Which is fine.
Yeah, after we just did our whole video on it's fine, but it's not ideal, and I think obviously very easy to have a vegan diet that's healthy, but I think it maybe takes a lot more planning. There's a great vegan bakery just a couple streets over, so nice. Maybe we can try. Actually, maybe we can try. I think you still owe me. You still owe me for the plant challenge.
Oh, that's right.
Bring me to Camp Runners.
Next week.
It's a date.
Oh, I forgot about that. I still gotta pay up.
Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you never miss one of our videos, and follow us on our Instagram and our TikTok.
Thank you for watching.
Bye.